and he loved to work for the people, and he talks about the people of middle class for their rights. And we are here to help him, to support him and his candidacy. So today we are having a fundraiser for him. And all you contributing in his campaign, that's why I am personally grateful to you all. And I thank you for you coming. And now I want to ask one of our friends, is a district leader from this area, is Richard David. He's gonna say a few words.
Good afternoon, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Richard David, and not only am I a district leader, he's the chair of our Democratic Party, and I'm one of the district leaders. I'm also a constituent. He's my member of Congress, and it's a very exciting time in New York City, and it's a very exciting time to live here in Southeast Queens because our member of Congress is also the chair on the Committee of Foreign Relations in the House of Representatives. That's a very, very high honor. And it means a lot to me as somebody who was born abroad, because when we needed him to go to a country that was having an issue with democracy, a lot of people became quiet. The congressman stood up though. And actually, I think I was just last week, you were in the Ukraine. And he just, so he's all over the world. But during COVID-19, he was here at home too. He made sure that our district got the resources from the federal government to recover. He's making sure that our hospitals are strong, that our infrastructure here in Queens is going to be the best in the world. And it is our responsibility to make sure that while he's in Congress, while he's around the world, that we support him here on the ground to make sure he has a strong re-election campaign. And I'm so excited that Uncle Morshaji is having this fundraiser for him because we all have a responsibility to look out for Congressman Meeks. Thank you all for coming out, and thank you for letting me say a few words.
Thank you, Richard, for coming here. And I want to ask our elderly and most respectable person who was a journalist and an intellectual in our community, and he watch everything, every turn and every twist in our community, and he's very concerned, and he's always give us advice to involve in the mainstream, in the activism, in the politics, whatever we say, and he's here, he's gonna say a few words about his concern.
নামটা বলুন।
Sayyid Mahmudullah.
Thank you. Honorable Congressman Meeks, it's a great pleasure for me, for all of us, to meet you here at this fundraiser. We know how important a role you have been playing in the Congress and how important your role have been for your constituents and for all the people that are concerned about the direction of our country's policy. We are especially grateful that you are an important person in the foreign relations, international relations arena of concern for the Congress. That gives us a special privilege to be here today to meet you. And Bangladeshi Americans, Mr. Morshad Alam has been a pioneer in involving our community in the mainstream politics in North America. He has been a real leader in that sense. So we all here have been galvanized and inspired by his leadership, by his outspoken and continued efforts to involve us in this. He has also opened up his Democratic Club women's chapter and the youth chapter. Some very bright young men are involved in that. So that's good. Bangladeshi Americans are expanding in numbers, becoming voters, and becoming very active. A couple of years ago in New York, Bangladeshi youth have opened up a chapter, an organization called BAP, Bangladeshi Americans for Political Progress, BAPP. So you see, all those people are very bright, outstanding youth. So we are getting involved in mainstream politics, in American life, Our people are everywhere, from taxi driver to the space scientists, doctors, engineers, academics, everywhere we are. And we are trying to be more involved in the mainstream politics, in social life, in community life, in political life, everywhere. And that's where your leadership comes. We appreciate your leadership, your concern. We know you have been very involved in all communities of your constituents, especially we are grateful that you have been involved in you and concerned about the welfare of Bangladesh. I also, when I am speaking about our community's concerns, our interests, also we come from the country of Bangladesh that you know. We want that while our country's democratic structure and rule of law should enhance, should be deepened, and we expect the U.S. total complete support to our country. At the same time, we should also remember that there were extremism rising in our country. With the leadership of the present government in Bangladesh, that extremism has dwindled. They have suppressed it to a great extent. There has not been any terrorist activity over the last couple of years. So in the process, while they are suppressing, they are trying to bring things under control. There may have been some excesses by some state units. So in that area, we expect understanding and support of your government, the United States and all our friendly countries around the world. So we expect you to work for enhancing and deepening democratic institutions and practices in our country, to enhance and deepen the rule of law. But at the same time, we also expect that if steps are taken that can disorient or or create instability, then rightists and extremist forces will again come to power in Bangladesh. So that's where our concern is. I'm just letting you know in a very subtle and polite manner that please try to understand our situation. Bangladesh has made tremendous progress economically and socially and over the last decade or so, and we need stability there, but at the same time, while I'm saying that we expect your support for our stability, for democratic stability, but at the same time, I'm not saying that you will not. We also expect you to help us deepen our commitment to democracy and democratic institutions. And thank you very, very much, and all of you who have come here. We are extremely grateful that we are being able to be present to support our wonderful, very important Congressman Meeks. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, only 3 ladies or 4 of them. We should have a 50% women. Should be.
5 left.
5. Okay, that's great. That's not bad. So, things is that, if anybody have any concern, any kind of question, after Congressman speak, you can write your concern and give it to us, then he will address this thing. And now, actually, I don't want to say a lot of things about the person who is our center of the attention, our Congressman, Gregory Meeks. We know each other for last 30 years, and good friend of mine. Always he giving me the direction, and I follow the thing. And he is for people, and pro people, for the people, and always he work for the people. Here is our Congressman Gregory Meeks.
Let me start off by saying thank you to each and every one of you for being here this afternoon. It is good to see you. And by you being here, I know that you are a friend of my friend, Morshad Alam. And as Morshad has indicated, we've known each other for over 30 years. And our relationship has gelled because of Morshad's leadership. Leadership in the Bangladeshi community, but leadership in Queens, period. He's been an individual and a friend that I've always been able to rely upon, to listen to learn from, to get recommendations from, of how we can make our communities a better place. And so he too has focused his life on making public space better. He's given himself, no matter what kind of work that he's done, he's given himself to the community. Because he's taught me a long time ago that it's about community and how we build community and how we work together that will build a better future. So I really owe a deep thank you to Morshed
Thank you, sir.
for all that he's done and continues to do for our communities. Let me also give a shout out to my district leader, who is just a dynamite young man who hit the streets working. And he became a district leader not because somebody gave it to him, because he worked hard to do it. And he brings unity to the table.
Yes.
And
yes.
he is an individual that can see the future. Why can he see the future? Because not only is he the present, he's also the future.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Richard David. I am happy to see all of you today. Happy to see you here. Because each and every one of you who may have come from Bangladesh, but by you coming to the United States, you have made the United States a better place. The reason why I say that is because when you think about the true experiment of the United States, it's about bringing people together from all over the world to bring your heritage, your religion, your culture to America, to share it, to work together. Because while you being here, we learn that we all are the same. We're all human. We all want better lives for our families. We all want a better world. And you teach and you bring that unity and understanding by you being here. It's the reason why in New York, the United Nations is in New York, bringing nations and people together. And it's the reason why Queens County in particular, where as indicated by both Morshed and Richard, I'm the chair of the Queens County Democratic Organization. The reason why I am so proud of Queens County is that this is the most diverse county, not just in New York City, not just in New York State, but it is the most diverse county than anywhere in the United States of America. So you help make us the shining example for the nation of how people come together for the betterment of humankind. And I am so proud that for many of you, and I think probably most of you, I'm also your representative in Washington, D.C. And with that comes a tremendous responsibility for me. Because I have to make sure that while I am in Washington and on the floor of the United States House of Representatives, that I'm bringing issues that are important to you, that I'm talking about positions that are important to you, that I'm doing things that will make a difference, first for you and your families right here in the United States, to make sure that you're interconnected and have accessibility to government and to opportunities in the United States, that you're not discriminated against, that you're not profiled, that you're not individuals who are seen as anything other than who you are. Members of the great community of Queens County, the city of New York, and the great country, the United States of America. Now, I have other responsibilities now. I am chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. And I'm so proud of that, primarily because of you. When I ran to become chair of the office, one of the things that I told my colleagues is the reason why I felt that I was best qualified to be chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee is because I have the Bangladeshi community in my district. And all that it represents, and all of the communities around the world that surrounds it. And that gives me the ideas to think and to move on how we can make the world a better place. So as my brother talked about, responsibilities that I have and what he wants me to look at. Because I know that you are here in America, but many of you still have relatives in Bangladesh. And many of you still have affinities in Bangladesh. And many of you are watching every day what's going on in Bangladesh. Some of it you like. Some of it you don't. Some of it but you want your native land to be full of prosperity and democracy, where they're treated fairly and have opportunity in the native land. And want the United States of America to deal and work and have a very good relationship with Bangladesh. And that's part of what my job and responsibility is. Now, I think Richard David just mentioned that I'm actually, you have to excuse my voice, and I'm a little jet lagged because I literally just got back from the Ukraine, where there's this big thing that's going on between Ukraine and Russia. But I also know that then last night, when I got back, I had to go to another meeting. And that meeting was with the Emir of Qatar and the situations that are going on in Afghanistan and surrounding communities, which touches on the situations dealing with Bangladesh, dealing with India, dealing with Pakistan, and how do we work to make sure that there is a peaceful world there and democratic institutions that present itself and preventing violations of human rights. Which brings me to this, and then I'll be ready to open it up and answer any questions. The first thing that I think that we have to acknowledge and say that over the last 71 years, the progress that Bangladesh has made in its independence is tremendous. As I look in this room, I'm sure many of you have had your hands in on the independence of Bangladesh and worked hard and want to make sure that those institutions continue to grow, as you've indicated. And the United States assists in helping build those institutions, which is why the United States has given a substantial amount of money in the aid to Bangladesh to help build those institutions. And what we've seen over that period of time is the rise in Bangladesh of the population, which once was a completely low income country, that has risen in a short period of time to a moderate country, income-wise, with the potential to grow even more. One of the things that we have also seen, which is what I think that we've got to work with, especially in the last election, is the seemingly a recess of some of the democracy and institutions and elections. For some have said that the last election could have been more transparent and fairer. So it's important to focus on it, and what we're focused on right now, and I'm focused on the committee, that as we approach elections in Bangladesh in 2023, that we make sure that the democratic process is in place for free and fair elections, so that the will of the people of Bangladesh determines its leadership and helps stabilize its institutions. So it's not for us in the United States and in the United States Congress just to sit back and criticize. It's for us also to try to help. Why? Because Bangladesh is an ally of the United States and an ally of democracy, and we got to make sure that we stand by Bangladesh. And we will. One of the reasons why, y'all one of the first few to hear, but we haven't set the date, but that's one of the reasons why I am planning sometime in this year to visit Bangladesh.
Good.
And talk and engage and have conversations with its leaders, both those that are in power and those that are out of power. Because when you go, you got to have conversation with both, similarly as we do here in the United States. It also means, though, that I've also got to talk to those individuals, because I've had, and I know some of you have heard, that we've got to work if there is violations of human rights, whether it be here in the United States of America or any place else. We've got to stand up and speak out and prevent it from occurring. That doesn't mean you turn your back on the people. It means you make sure you deal with the people, because it's for the benefit of all, as we do here in the United States. And so we have had these conversations about a certain group in Bangladesh who human rights groups have said have committed or associated with some human rights violations. So we need to talk about that, and we need to fix it, and we need to work together. And here's where I use your help, because of your connections and your nexus to people in Bangladesh. You may have people that you're talking to that's on the ground right now. You may have information that we don't have. And so therefore, I rely upon you, my constituents, to give me that information, which is why I intend on going, because I have found that I've learned more about a situation on the ground when I talk to the people who have people on the ground, and when I go visit it for myself on the ground. That's what I just did. That's why I just came from Brussels, as well as Ukraine. And I come back knowing and understanding more of what's taking place there than I did before I left. So in talking to you, it will help me shape my policies toward Bangladesh. It would make me make determinations if I need to do hearings on the matter. It makes me to make the determinations of who I should speak with in that regard. And it educates me in general on the appropriate policies that the United States should have with Bangladesh. I conclude by saying, I also want to make sure that while you're here, those that are here, I want to make sure your lives are better here in the United States. I want to know the issues that are involving you directly, your businesses, education, your children, your health care, your well-being, your opportunities. I want to know what we can do in my office to make your lives right here in the United States much better. So that means having dialogue, conversations, listening to one another, and working with one another. So my dear friend, Morshed, thank you so very much for bringing us all together.
Two gentlemen, they said a two question for you. Probably you can say, really US Treasury Department put a sanction on few RAB officers for human rights violations. Can you tell please work with the Bangladesh government to resolve these issues by dialogue? Another one is, can you please build a bridge and good friendship with Bangladesh as a powerful chairman of the House Foreign Relations Committee? Bangladesh is a vibrant, developing nation now, need your help. Another one is the question, historically we see US has imposed sanction on those state countries or non-state actors with which it has complete strained relation with US. There is no option left for discussion or dialogue. But US and Bangladesh has most trusted bilateral relationship. Why Department of Treasury were imposed second sanction on the Rapid Action Battalion, a prime security agency for Bangladesh? What is the way to refix this imposed sanction? Question comment. Could you please explain Russia and Ukraine battle situation? US is really involved with this war? If so, how is our economy during the war?
Very good. So let me answer the Bangladeshi question with regard to the sanctions on the particular organization that is not a sanction on Bangladesh. Let's be clear on that. It's not a sanction on the entire government of Bangladesh. It's not something that means that the United States is not working with Bangladesh. The fact of the matter is, we recognize Bangladesh. We recognize the progress that Bangladesh has made. We recognize that it is a strong and very important ally to the United States, and we're going to continue to have that conversation and that dialogue, no question about it. And because of that relationship, when there's something that occurs that appears not to be right because of your friends, then you have that conversation. And what has happened with reference to the group that was sanctioned is as a result of the UN and other human rights groups that have come and reported to us that they've seen in this particular guard that there has been, in fact, you know, in anticipation, because we look, I'll tell you exactly what it is. Let me just say and here's what we're trying to do. The Rapid Action Battalion, RAB. We've created what's called the Magnitsky Human Rights and Accountability Act. And it's when you get a group of human rights groups that comes together. And they look, and when they see a foreign entity that is responsible for or complicit in or has directly or indirectly engaged in serious human rights abuses, there is an obligation that we have to do and say something around the world. Now, I know that there's questions, because anytime you have this scenario and in the community, some say one thing and others say another. I can tell you in my office, from the Bangladeshi community, I've had both sides come to me. And both sides make a representation to me. That's another reason why I'm gonna go to Bangladesh myself and go on the ground and talk and see for myself. This is why I will engage with the UN and talk and see for myself. And this is why I do want to hear your thoughts and the positions and what you feel, because that helps me make that determination. But the President of the United States is the one that puts the sanctions on, and it's based upon the information that he gets from these groups. Now, I have the wherewithal to have a dialogue and conversation with the administration in that regard. And I will do so. But one thing that I can guarantee you, that there's nothing is going to destroy the relationship that we have with Bangladesh. We're going to try to get this issue resolved and figure out how we can move forward and strengthen the institutions so that there is no democratic backtracking. And we can make sure that Bangladesh, in my opinion, can be the model that others in the region can follow and watch.
That's right.
That's the goal, and that's the ambition. And that's what we're looking to do. So I think those were the first two questions. It was about the same thing. The third question was about what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, where I just came back from. And you looked at the news, and the brink of war could be there, but nobody knows really, because nobody knows what Putin is going to do. I don't even know if Putin knows what he's going to do. But one of the things that my trip told me, because we went to Ukraine and Brussels, because we have friends and allies there also. So in Brussels, I got a chance to talk to our allies that's part of NATO and the European Union, to see if they are in lockstep with where we are and Ukraine or not. And I have found that our allies are with us. And I have found that there's resolve with the Ukrainian people. I think that Putin would love for us to be divided. And that would make him the victor, the winner. But he didn't count on it. And the one thing that he's done is he's made us more united. He's made Ukraine more united. He misjudged what took place in 2014 when they took Crimea. So I found when I was in Ukraine, whether they spoke Ukrainian or Russian, they all took pride in being Ukrainian. And they do not want Russia to come in and disturb their democracy and their freedom. And walking, whether I talk to people in the political circles or walking the streets, we got a chance to talk with taxi drivers. We went to restaurants. The people are resolved that they're not going to allow someone to come in and take their sovereign land. And they want the help that they can get from the United States, not to send troops or anything of that nature, but for defensive weapons, and the whole idea to let Putin know that he will pay a severe cost if he tries to get involved in taking over a sovereign land. So there's a plan A and there's a plan B. The plan A is, of course, is to deter the Russians and Putin from coming in by letting him know there will be sanctions like he's never seen before. Not just from the United States, but from the entire region and countries all throughout. And every European country will come together to make sure that there will be sanctions that will hurt and devastate the economy of the Germans, of the Russians. And that is multilateral. That's plan A. Because it is my hope that they do not go in, find a diplomatic course to resolve the situation. But since he's unpredictable, there's a plan B. The plan B is if you do come in, we're going to provide to the Ukrainians the kind of training and availability of defensive weapons so that they can protect themselves. That's also going to render damage to you. It's not going to be just you walking in and taking property. So it is my sincere hope that the Russians, don't take that step. So plan A will work and we can get this situation resolved in a diplomatic way. But the people of Ukraine, the people who are part of NATO, the European Union, and the United States are all together and prepared to do what it takes to make sure that we stand up for democracy. Because if you have a threat to democracy anywhere, it's a threat to democracy everywhere. And we've got to stand together for freedom and democratic institutions where the free will of people is abided by. So that's basically what is taking place in the Ukraine.
Can I ask a question?